How's it going, guys? So we just had a very interesting, stacked weekend of boxing, and there's a lot of fights to go over, a lot of fights to talk about. So I've got a few videos to make. Now, in this video, I'm going to be reviewing the card that took place in Russia on Saturday, the Denis Lebedev Murat Gassiev card. I'm going to be talking about the undercard fights first, then I'll get onto the main event. First fight I want to talk about. Now, two of the fights that happened on this card, going into the card, I felt were going to be long and competitive matchups. However, it turned out that they weren't so competitive. Both fights actually ended in the first round, and I'll talk about those fights now. I'll start with the Kudryashov fight. Now, I was interested in this fight, and the reason why I was interested is because Kudryashov, he's at a stage of his career where he's in a rebuilding process. What I mean by that is he was knocked out last year by Durodola, and it was a brutal knockout, and it really did expose some of Kudryashov's vulnerabilities, because Durodola, as we found out, is a pretty crude, pretty one-dimensional, pretty limited cruiserweight, and with all the powerful punchers at cruiserweight, with all the dangerous, talented guys there are out there, you'd expect a contender to defeat someone like Durodola. So I was interested to see if Kudryashov had made any adjustments to his style. I was interested to see if he'd made any changes. I was hoping that this fight would go a few rounds. But unfortunately, the fight was over before it started. I mean, Kudryashov basically just went out there. He was targeting the body with his jab, trying to wear this guy down. And he basically just, the first time he connected with a clean left hook, the guy went down. He got back up, he was hurt, and Kudryashov just went in there and finished him off with another left hook. The very next punch put him on his arse. So, yeah, the fight was over very quickly. I felt that the opponent, Santiago, would have been a little bit more cagey than he was. I felt that he should have been more defensive in the first round against a puncher like Kudryashov. The fact that he was getting caught with a clean left hook like that in the first round, it was a little bit silly. He should have used his experience, because he was a very experienced cruiserweight who had been around for a while and who had fought people like Denis Lebedev. So, I was expecting that guy to at least give it a go, and at least try and survive and see what Kudryashov has. But the fight was over very quickly. Yeah, Kudryashov got the first round knockout, and we really didn't learn anything from it, because Kudryashov, we knew going into this fight that Kudryashov was a puncher. We knew that he had one-punch knockout power. We knew that going into the fight. So, I mean, the fact that he's able to knock the guy out in the first round, we really didn't learn anything. I was hoping to see if he's improved his defense or if he's improved his stamina. We didn't get to see that, but whatever. He got the first round knockout. Congratulations to him. And we'll see if he can really be a force at cruiserweight. I mean, you really can't say at this stage, because, like I said before, cruiserweight is a very stacked division. There are a lot of dangerous punchers, a lot of tough guys, a lot of very durable fighters. And although Kudryashov has the punching power to compete with these guys, we don't know if he has the defense or the stamina to compete with them. And that was what I was hoping to find out. But whatever, we'll get on to the next fight. Edward Troyanovsky was upsetted by Julius Indongo, another first-round knockout. What basically happened in this fight, going into the ring, Troyanovsky, to me, he looked a little bit cold to me. There wasn't an ounce of sweat on him. He went into the fight, he basically fell short and got caught with a beautifully well placed left hand over the top that put him to sleep. Going into the fight, I felt it would be competitive. In my prediction video, I picked Troyanovsky to win by a late stoppage. I felt that he would have problems in the early rounds. I felt that Indongo, with his size advantage, because he did have a size advantage, I felt Indongo would give him problems from distance, and I felt that Troyanovsky would have to, he would have to break him down gradually. But as I said, what happened was he just got caught with the right shot at the right moment. 40 seconds into the first round, he got caught cold, and you knew the second he hit the canvas, the fight was over. Yeah, disappointing, because I was looking forward to this fight. I thought it was going to be a very good fight, and it was over very quickly. As far as where do these guys go from here, Julius Indongo, he's going to be an interesting addition to the 140 division. As for Troyanovsky, we really don't know if he'll come back from this. I mean, he will have to, he'll have to be medically okay to come back. Obviously, at 36 years old, to suffer a first round knockout like that, a devastating first round knockout like that. Some fighters recover, some fighters don't. So we'll have to wait and see now. A few people have suggested that maybe there should be a rematch. I would like to see it, as long as Troyanovsky was medically fit to keep fighting after that knockout, as long as he recovers well. I think if he is to warm up better next time, and if he's able to, take a more tactful approach to the rematch, then it's possible he could win the rematch. It could be how I envisioned the fight going the first time. He would, if he was able to just go into the ring and come forward and apply some pressure, but don't fall short. Come forward and maybe use feints and be a little bit more tactful. Then he wouldn't have got caught so early on, and he wouldn't have got caught cold, and maybe he could have, gradually warmed his way into the fight. But, whatever. The fight happened. He got knocked out. Congratulations to Indongo on winning a world title by a first round knockout. I mean, that's pretty impressive. I mean, a lot of people didn't even know who this guy was before this fight was announced. So for him to win a world title like that and, burst onto the scene, it's going to be very good for his marketability. I mean, he's going to be, he's kind of a dark horse in this division now, and there's a lot of fights out there for him. I mean, if the rematch doesn't happen, perhaps a fight with Ricky Burns here in Scotland, or a fight with Terence Crawford over in America, some good fights out there for him. I'm sure a lot of fighters are going to be gunning to fight this dude for his title. So yeah, I'm interested to see where Indongo goes from here. He's a good fighter. He is. I mean, he set up that left hand very nicely. He judged the distance well, and he used his height and reach. And that was something I talked about in my prediction. I talked about how Indongo is very good from the outside. He's very good. He knows how to use his reach. He's got a good jab, and he knows how to make his long left hook. His long straight left hand count from the outside, being a southpaw, and he's very good at landing it. So, yeah, I think he's a good fighter, and we'll see where he goes from here. Now, let's get on to the main event. This is the one I really want to talk about. Denis Lebedev loses his titles to Murat Gassiev by a split decision in a war. Very good fight, and a very interesting fight too. We learned a lot about both guys from this fight. Now, let's talk about how this fight went, or how I saw the fight. And I thought he was boxing very well in the first round. He was circling the ring, he was making Gassiev miss, and he was landing combinations. He had a very good right jab. He was landing a lot of shots in the first couple of rounds, a lot more shots than I thought he would. And Gassiev to me showed a very good chin. He showed that he has an excellent chin for cruiserweight, and he took Lebedev's best punches like they were nothing. And by the third round, when Gassiev started to open up a little bit more and started to let his hands go, that was when the difference in power between these two was really telling. Every time Gassiev would land even a glancing blow, it didn't even have to land clean, just a glancing blow, it would have an effect, because the guy has monstrous power. And I talked about this in my prediction video. I talked about how Gassiev is the considerably harder puncher here, okay? His power is absolutely insane for a cruiserweight. I mean, he hits harder than most heavyweights. In fact, I don't even think there's that many heavyweights that hit as hard as this guy, and I'm not exaggerating. Go and watch his fights. He is a monstrous puncher. And yeah, when he started to let his hands go, Denis Lebedev started to backpedal, because he realized that he just could not fight with this guy in close. He couldn't allow himself to get into a shootout with this guy. So Lebedev, as the fight went on, was becoming more and more cagey. He was still letting his hands go. He was still throwing punches. Don't get me wrong. Lebedev is a fighting man. Okay, he's not a guy who's going to be 100% conservative. He's always going to let his hands go in the fight. But he understood. He understood that he couldn't get himself into a shootout, because it would have been a big mistake, because he was way outgunned in this fight. Now, in the fifth round, I believe it was, Gassiev caught Lebedev with a left hook to the liver, and it was so well placed, this left hook to the liver. It was the perfect shot at the perfect moment, and Lebedev went down. He was in agony. You could see it in his face. Wow, I mean, it was like those punches that Ricky Hatton used to land, the left hook to the liver that he caught Castillo with. It reminded me of that, and, where guys would just drop and they would be done. But Denis Lebedev, I have to credit this dude, man. Denis Lebedev is one of the toughest, hardest, and bravest fighters out there, man. I mean, he got up from that shot. I don't think any other cruiserweight in the world would have got up from that shot. I have to be honest, guys. I mean, it took everything out of Lebedev. He was winded, he was hurt, he was tired, he was all over the place. Okay, the punch really had an effect, and it really took a lot out of him, and you could see that for the rest of the fight. It completely took away the snap that Lebedev had from his punches. Now, Lebedev, like a warrior, got up. He weathered the storm. He got through the round. He even landed some punches after that in the round. And but for the rest of the fight, like I said, no snap on his punches, no effect, nothing. It was mostly just arm punches from then on. And that's a testament to how hard Gassiev punches, man. I mean, he can really take away your confidence and take away your energy with his punches. Now, it has to be said, Gassiev did show a lot of flaws in this fight. He showed a lot of defensive flaws. Like I said, Lebedev was hitting him almost at will in times in this fight. He was landing a lot of shots, even later in the fight. It's just that the difference in power was the difference in the fight for me, and that's why I agreed with the decision. I had Gassiev winning the fight, even though it was pretty close, even though it was clear to me that he got outlanded in the fight. I just thought that the difference in damage that was being done by both guys, I mean, he was doing so much more damage to Lebedev that it wasn't even close. I mean, Lebedev could land 3 or 4 punches in a combination that land flush, and they would have no effect, whereas Gassiev could land a jab that basically just glances him or hits him in the shoulder, and it would have an effect. You would see Lebedev start to backpedal, and you would see him be hurt from it. So, yeah, I just think that Gassiev, with the damage that he did to Lebedev's face, and the fact that he appeared to be the one who was more comfortable in there, and who was dictating the pace of the fight with his power by backing Lebedev up every time he hit him and stuff like that. I just felt, watching the fight, it felt to me like Gassiev was winning. And when they were announcing the scores, I had a feeling he was going to get the decision, and it felt like the right decision to me, even though I know that a lot of people out there think Lebedev won the fight, and I wouldn't argue with that, okay? If you think that Lebedev, because of his volume and landing the more punches, if you think he won the fight, that's up to you. Personally, I felt that Gassiev, with the damage that he did, and with scoring the knockdown, and with being the man who was the stronger, more imposing guy in the ring, and doing the more damage, I felt that it was right. It was only right that he got the win, but I wouldn't argue it either way. So yeah, fantastic fight. What else did we learn about this fight? We learned that Gassiev has a heck of a lot of problems when you put your punches together. Now, he has a very good chin, don't get me wrong, he takes a punch well, but I think defensively he's a little bit limited. Also, his movement, I wasn't impressed with his movement. Lebedev was able to kind of offset him a little bit by just simply moving around the ring. And I think that a fighter like Alexander Usyk, for example, who's another cruiserweight champion right now, the WBO champion, let's just say if he were to fight Gassiev next, I would be taking Usyk in that fight, no matter what happens to Usyk in his next fight against Tabaiza Machunu. No matter what happens in that fight, I would take Usyk to defeat Gassiev any day of the week. And the reason why is because all those things that Lebedev was doing, moving around, the southpaw stance, the jabs, the straight lefts, the right hooks, the uppercuts, all of those things would be coming at Gassiev from Usyk, but at a much higher level. Usyk to me is a more talented, more slick boxer than Lebedev is. He's also a heck of a lot bigger and taller than Lebedev, and with longer arms, and a lot faster too, and he moves a lot better. So I think that Usyk would handily outbox Gassiev if that fight were to happen. An interesting fight, a fight that I would be intrigued in seeing, would be Murat Gassiev against Glavatsky, Krzysztof Glavatsky, the guy who Usyk beat for the title. I think that's a great fight, a really intriguing fight. I think it would be very similar to this fight against Lebedev. However, I think Gassiev hits harder than Lebedev. Lebedev's more of a accumulation type puncher, a guy that breaks you down over the course of several rounds. He's not really a one-punch knockout type of guy like Gassiev is, but I think Glavatsky, depending on who he's fighting, he is a one-punch knockout guy. I mean, look at that knockout against Marco Huck. If you know that big fucking right hook he landed, the guy is a very, very hard puncher, Glavatsky. So I think Glavatsky, you know, and he can box too, Glavatsky, and he's a southpaw. So I think that Glavatsky versus Gassiev would be a very interesting fight. I would like to see it. As I said, I don't think that Gassiev could compete with Usyk. I honestly think that fight's a mismatch. You know, who else you got there at cruiserweight? Obviously, Tony Bellew has moved up to fight David Haye, so that fight ain't happening anytime soon. I mean, Tony Bellew wouldn't dare get in the ring with Gassiev. You know, I think Steve Cunningham is still around, so that'll be an interesting fight. You know, Steve Cunningham, even at this stage, he's still a capable cruiserweight. You know, he can still move, he can still box, still got fast hands. I don't know if he will get that fight because he's coming off a loss to Glavatsky, so I don't know. I think he would probably have to get in line for the fight, but you know, I would like to see it. I would like to see that fight. It's an intriguing fight. You know, cruiserweight's a really good division. Obviously, Kudryashov fought on the undercard, as I talked about. You know, he's an up and coming cruiserweight, but like I said, we just don't know about him. We don't know because we know he's got the power. We know he's you know, a very hard puncher. He's strong, but we don't know about his toughness. We don't know about his chin. We don't know about his stamina. We don't know about his defense or his boxing skill. We just haven't seen him really tested like that yet, and we don't know how well he's recovered from that knockout defeat to Duradola. So, you know, one fighter I forgot to talk about, Maris Bridis. You know, that's an interesting cruiserweight right there, who it looks like is going to be fighting for the WBC title soon when Bellew inevitably vacates, which he's going to have to, because if he doesn't take that fight, he'll get stripped. So, you know, I suppose when Bridis fights for the WBC title, whoever it is he's fighting, that's a possible future unification for Gassiev. That's a very interesting fight. I would probably take Gassiev at this stage because Bridis, again, is a little bit untested. I would have to see Bridis against a world-class cruiserweight contender before I would pick that fight. But he did beat Duradola, who beat Kudryashov, so I guess that Bridis at this stage, he's a little bit more proven than Kudryashov is. So, you know, I'm enjoying talking about the cruiserweight division. It's just such a great division, and I might even talk more about this fight once I've got more time to, you know, because I've been pretty busy this weekend, and I watched the fight live on the stream, but I haven't been able to watch it again. So once I get to sit down and watch this fight again, I might do a more detailed, you know, more professional breakdown of it. But yeah, anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and let me know what you guys think. Yeah, it was a great weekend of boxing. Thanks for watching.